As Álvaro Castagnet continued his artistic journey, the world around him evolved, changing trends, shifting audiences, and expanding global platforms. But what remained constant was his devotion to the expressive power of watercolor. In his eyes, this medium wasn't simply a tool, it was a living force. "Watercolor has a soul," he once remarked. "It breathes with the artist." In this stage of his career, Álvaro began focusing on capturing not just scenes, but sensations. His paintings became increasingly emotional, diving deeper into the abstract without losing their grip on reality. Street corners, rainy markets, sunlit plazas, he painted them all with a sense of urgency and vibrancy that seemed to echo the rhythm of life itself. The brush moved faster, more confidently. The color choices grew bolder. It was as though his paintings were shouting, not speaking. A shift also occurred in how he saw light. Early on, Álvaro had mastered the play of shadows in sunlight, but now he was pushing its emotional potential further. Backlighting became a dramatic player. Golden glows and deep silhouettes took center stage. He would deliberately place a burst of red or orange into a sea of grays, not for balance, but for drama. It was about mood, not realism. It was about storytelling through light and contrast. His philosophy of painting the mood took full form. Álvaro did not aim for perfection in the academic sense. He sought soulfulness. Sometimes a detail would be left out, on purpose. Sometimes a stroke would appear chaotic, intentionally. "I don't paint things, I paint what things feel like," he explained during a workshop in Spain. To many of his followers, this statement marked a turning point in how they approached their own painting. But with innovation came criticism. Some traditionalists found his work too loose, too aggressive. Some accused him of abandoning structure for style. Yet Álvaro never wavered. His goal wasn't to please everyone. It was to stay true to his vision. And that vision was becoming clearer, louder, and more fearless with every brushstroke. As his confidence in watercolor deepened, so too did Álvaro Castagnet's desire to connect with others through his art. This wasn't limited to galleries or collectors. It extended to students, amateurs, and fellow professionals. His workshops became more than instructional sessions. They turned into immersive experiences, almost theatrical in nature. He painted live with bold gestures, loud commentary, and contagious energy. He would challenge participants, "Loosen up, let your brush dance." For him, teaching wasn't just about technique. It was about awakening something deeper in people. Many students described his workshops as transformative. One remembered, "He didn't just teach me how to paint, he taught me how to feel what I was painting." Álvaro's passion was infectious. Whether in Buenos Aires, Tokyo, Amsterdam, or Cape Town, his presence filled the room, and often the streets wherever he painted. It was during this phase that Álvaro became a true ambassador for watercolor. He wasn't content with being a master. He wanted to elevate the medium itself. He wanted people to see it not as fragile or secondary, but as dynamic, strong, and full of impact. He started organizing exhibitions that celebrated watercolor as a serious form of fine art, worthy of major recognition. He joined international art societies, judged competitions, and took part in panels discussing the future of watercolor. His influence began shaping the very conversation around the medium. And yet, even as his public presence grew, Álvaro's private connection to painting remained intimate. He would often travel alone, walking the streets of cities before dawn with a small sketchbook. He believed these solitary moments were essential. "A painting begins long before you pick up the brush," he said. "It starts when you feel something, when a street or a shadow or a smell moves you." He filled notebooks with quick impressions, poetic fragments, and color notes. These were not plans, they were emotional seeds. His paintings from this period reflect a striking maturity. They're not louder or brighter, they are deeper. You can feel the silence behind the noise, the calm behind the chaos. A solitary figure in a cafe, a taxi disappearing in the mist, a quiet alley glowing with afternoon light. Each image speaks volumes, not through detail, but through emotion. And that, ultimately, became Álvaro's signature. As Álvaro Castagnet's career progressed, his philosophy evolved with even greater clarity. He began articulating his ideas not only through painting and workshops, but also through books and interviews. His writings, both instructional and reflective, offered a rare window into the mind of an artist who had long broken free from convention. In his book, Painting with Passion, he wrote, "Technique is the skeleton, emotion is the flesh. Without feeling, a painting has no life." This distinction between skill and soul became central to everything he did. He urged artists to paint from their gut, to allow instinct and spontaneity to override overthinking. He often spoke about the tyranny of perfection, how it chokes creativity. Beauty, he said, lives in imperfection, in the brushstroke that surprises even you, in the edge you didn't control. This outlook resonated deeply with a generation of painters who felt trapped between academic rules and expressive freedom. His international acclaim only solidified this influence. Álvaro became a household name in the world of watercolor. His paintings were showcased in major art fairs, featured on magazine covers, and hung in both private and public collections. Yet despite this prestige, he never abandoned the streets, the gritty, chaotic, beautiful streets that had always fed his vision. From Paris to Sao Paulo, from Istanbul to Sydney, he chased the same ephemeral magic, light bouncing off windows, crowds in motion, the hush before a storm. One fascinating aspect of Álvaro's work is his relationship with color. He doesn't use color to simply describe what is there. He uses it to amplify what is felt. He bends reality, intensifies it. His palette is often warm, passionate, and slightly surreal. Crimson shadows, violet grays, bursts of fiery orange. They create a kind of emotional truth. He once said, "I don't paint what I see, I paint what I want you to feel." This emotional truth became the hallmark of his late works. There was increasing abstraction in his compositions, even as the subject remained clear. The focus shifted from scene to sensation, from object to atmosphere. He experimented with negative space, let colors bleed into each other, and allowed water to become as expressive as pigment. In doing so, he reminded viewers that watercolor is not about control. It is about collaboration, with water, with light, with chance.